Hi everyone. Today's video I'm going to be demonstrating how to administer user credentials in a simple GIS server instance from within a simple GIS client application. So in order to do this, you need to make sure that you have the GIS server admin plugin loaded within your simple GIS client application. If you haven't, you can easily install the plugin. If you go ahead and open your project in Simple GIS Client, and while you're on your map view, if you visit the File drop-down menu and select the menu option about 3/4 of the way down or near the bottom called Plugins, you'll get the Plugin Manager dialog, which will list all the available plugins for Simple GIS Client. And the last one in the list is the Simple GIS Server Admin plugin. This is a freely available plugin designed specifically for administering your Simple GIS Server instance. And to install, you would just simply select it and click the Install Now button to download and run the installer. Once installed, I would just recommend that you go ahead and restart your simple GIS client application just to make sure that the plugin gets loaded into your application. I'm going to go ahead and dismiss this dialog. And then once you have the plugin loaded, if you go back to the File drop-down menu, you would notice it would add a new menu item at the very bottom called Administer Simple GIS Server. So you would select this menu item and you would bring up a new dialog box. You would enter the URL for your Simple GIS Server instance. This is the instance you're going to connect to. And then you would click the Connect button to actually connect to that instance. You would then enter your user credentials. And then once connected, you would notice that this free space, you would see the available free space for your server instance. Now, to administer user credentials or workspaces, anything like that, the user that you log in to your Simple GIS server instance with would need administer credentials or administrator access. And so if your user that you logged in with has administrator access, you can click this first button called Manage User Credentials, Folders, and Maps. And then assuming that you did have administrator access, at this point in time, you get a new dialog where you could enter in additional users and assign roles for those users, as well as resetting or setting passwords. So you notice here's the username, here's the password. Of course, this is encrypted, so you can't actually see the password. And this is the role that's assigned for this particular user. So in this case, it's an admin role. The various roles available, you have an admin for administrator, a publisher who can publish data to workspaces that they've been assigned to or to the public workspace. You have editors that allow users that's logged in within a simple GIS client instance to edit data or layers that's been published, as long as they have access to that workspace. And then you have view only access, which means they can view the data, but they can't edit. And all of these are cumulative. So the viewer is the lowest level access, which means they can only view data. Editor can view and edit data. A publisher can view, edit, and publish data. And then, of course, an administrator can do all of those functions as well as administer the overall user credentials and workspaces. So to add a user here, I just simply click on the plus button to add a record. I would enter in a username. For the password, what I would actually do is click the Set Password button. As you can see, I can't actually edit this field directly, so what I would have to do is hit the set password. This would allow me to enter in a new password, and then I would need to re-enter the password to make sure it matches, and click up. If the password does not match, you'll get this warning, and we'll need to try and re-enter. Apparently, mistyped something here, so let me try this again. And when it does match, of course, it'll show here, and then it's encrypted form. Again, all the passwords are encrypted. And then I can assign a role for this particular user. I can also add workspaces. So by default, all Simple GIS Server instances has a public workspace. Any web maps that's published to the public workspace are visible to any users that has the URL to the map without requiring a sign-on. But if I have maps and data that I want to restrict access to, I can click Add Workspace and just enter in a name for the workspace. And it would add that workspace into my Simple GIS Server instance. And then I could use this to restrict access to this workspace. So for example, administrator by default has access to everything. So anybody with an admin role has access to all workspaces. But if I wanted this new user that we just added to have access to this workspace, I would do that by adding a record here, typing in the username, and then selecting the workspace that I want to grant them access to. And I click this post button whenever I make these edits to actually post the edits into the table. And then if I had multiple workspaces and I wanted this user, for example, if I wanted this user to be able to publish also to the public workspace, I would add another record, enter the same user, and grant them access to the public. Now again, as I said, anybody can view data in the public workspace like web maps, but if you wanted a non-administrator user to be able to publish to the public workspace, you need to go ahead and assign them access to the public workspace with at least a publisher role assigned to allow them to publish data if you want them to be able to publish to that workspace. As I click on Workspaces, if there were any existing web maps associated with that particular workspace, they would show up here. And so I can select different web maps. If I no longer wanted to make a web map available, I could remove this web map by clicking this Remove Workspace Map. Likewise, on these workspaces themselves, if there was a workspace I no longer needed to use, I could select the workspace and select Remove Workspace. And so that is all there is to administering your user credentials and workspaces in the Simple GIS Server instance. Hope this has been useful. Please visit our website if you'd like more information. That's simplegissoftware.com. There is a Contact Us page on that website. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you.